American Truck Simulator. I'm David Steele, and here's me truck, although we've just seen it. Let's see if I can show it off a little bit. There we go. A rather resplendent yellow Freightliner FLB we're in today. Oh, speed. Okay. It's a little unfortunate that you couldn't get it turning left there, but there we go. Right. Hey, it didn't change down. But I guess I had a... Okay, just to put what I said in context, I nearly stopped, but the transmission decided it would keep itself in 5th gear rather than shift down. And it does that from time to time. This engine does not have a lot of low-down torque compared to some engines. Its rated clutch engagement torque is 700 foot-pounds. This particular definition, we have a little bit more at 800 RPM. It's something like 758, I think, it's been programmed to. And that's in the interest of keeping the engine drivable. Oh, and the engine? Yeah, didn't I mention? No, I most certainly did not. This is a Cummins M11. It's around the corner here. We're in the entry-level machine. We're in the 280 horsepower version. So we have 280 horsepower and 1,050 foot-pounds of torque. It's the, let me see, M11 280E. And I believe the E simply means that it's a select engine. I may have forgotten some of the details, but the long and short are, it's the entry-level Cummins M11. I suppose you might call this a bit of a reworking of the engine definition. So I was looking through torque curves various, and I wasn't entirely happy with the option I chose for the M11. Thanks Hammer, you're making a point there. The long and short are, I really wasn't happy with how the engine was set up, because it's meant to have a governor of 1800 RPM, but I'd used a different torque curve with a 2000 RPM governor. So I decided, well, you know what, let's go back and do it again, because there's nothing I haven't done within the Steele Productions Engine Pack that I can redo. And so here we are. So yes, we're using a different torque curve. It's still 280 horsepower, still 1,050 foot-pounds of torque. And I'm following Cummins guidelines on the gearing, and what they essentially say is gear it to cruise at 60 miles an hour, very close to the governor of 1800 RPM. And so here we are. Now, we haven't yet reached 60 miles an hour, but we will. We will eventually. Let's go ahead and kill the power. We've actually got a toll coming up here, so gonna get on the set. Oh, my driver's tired. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to take a break on this trip then. It's got myself down to 20. Well, 15 now. Back on the power. Okay. Now I've forgotten what I was saying. Yes, I went back, redid the torque curve, took another look, chose a different one that was more appropriate. It really does have an 1800 RPM governor. And then realized, you know, I kind of want to make that a bit of a soft governor. And so you can still reach 2100 RPM, but you've got almost no power above 1800 RPM. Let's go ahead and merge here. Thank you, car. In my mirror. And that's because you can still use 2100 RPM for the engine brake. I'm going to tweak that setting a little bit, but essentially once you're over 1800 RPM the engine will still spin. It just, the amount of power just radically drops off. In fact, you know what, I should test that. Let's put it into neutral and give it a bootful of power. Yeah, so you see it goes up to about 1950 RPM. I need to tweak that. Okay. So it's geared to do 60. I think mathematically, well, stay in your lane, it'll do 61 miles an hour at 1800 RPM in top gear. And we're using a 9-speed direct drive transmission today. This has been available and is available in the Steele Productions Engine Pack. Got a 355 final drive, and it's a direct drive. We're using 22.5-inch wheels today. And so what I'm doing now is, one, making sure that my torque curve really does work as I want it to do. In fact, this is somewhere I could... No, let's never mind. Making sure that my torque curve does what I want it to do. And so far, it really does seem to be okay. If I go round, if I overtake this, these two vehicles ahead of me, I'm going to end up getting pulled into the weigh station. And if I stay behind it, I won't. So I guess we'll find out. Yay! Look at that. So I'm trying it with what Cummins recommend, and they say that the 280 horsepower is ideal for cruising at 60. I could pull in here and take a break, but I've left it too late. The 310 horsepower version is good, I think, for 63 miles an hour. It might be 65. Might even be 64, and then the higher end M11s are good for 68 miles an hour cruising, and they give you various gearboxes to choose, ideas of what the transmissions might be. This is where I'm going to pull over, take my brake in. Not yet. And lo and behold, when you drive with the right gearbox, the right ratio, and the right engine that matches, it works great, and it should do. Do some downshifting here. There we go. Fairly firm braking here. Sound today is courtesy of the free Z-Mods N14 sound. We're using it for the M11. I know the two engines aren't the same, but I like the sound it makes, and it's close enough in generation that it works for me. This red Subaru go past me. There we go.
Make a U-turn now.
Tank of motion left. Don't worry about that. I'm actually gonna go to the rest stop on the left. It's much easier to leave just turning right. Let's see. This is truck exit. Okay, truck's that way. All right. Good job. I'm not. Responsible for anything while driving around, right? Like 41,000 pounds of scrap metal behind me. Okay, cap overs are so much easier to maneuver some of the time, but at the same time they're also so much easier to roll over. Yellow does look great. I went with a yellow and black theme here today, and quite fond of it, to be fair. I think that the trailer looks great. I mean, I say it looks great. I'm clearly biased. Go ahead and do that. Let's turn the lights off. Okay. We'll take our break then. Near silence. Right, let's take a break. It's after 8 o'clock in the morning. Got speed after 10 hours. It's now 6 p.m. It's quick. Sometimes I wish my working day was that quick, but I don't want to miss things. I'm going to go ahead and get the headlights back on because it'll be dark before we know it. Yeah, let's get back on the road. Okay. Now, I know that in real life you might want to sit there and let everything warm up for a period of time. I am not used to that. I don't drive a big rig or a semi or a truck in real life, and so I'm just going to start the engine and go, and assume that there's a bit of hand waving that takes place. I will drive the truck a little gentler when it's still warming up, and it does warm up very quickly in the game. So if I switch my computer to show temperatures, yeah, coolant's already at 82 degrees and oil is over 130 Fahrenheit. It's not up to temperature, but it's definitely getting there. Okay, so we'll be turning right just over here.
Right, and then turn right.
Okay.
Turn right.
So yeah, I really decided I wanted to make the M11 be a bit more of an authentic experience, and I don't regret it, because it's nice to have that little bit more realism, or at least it would be more realistic. And yeah, it does mean that I'll not be exceeding 60 miles an hour unless I'm going down a hill. Okay, I'm completely good with that. In terms of power, we still have the same rated power. Is this truck going to let me in? Yes, he is. He's slowing down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead and give him some hazard thank yous. There we go. That works for me. Alright, let's get back with cruise. Cruise is set at 60. And let's get up to cruise. There we go. So this particular torque curve, I don't really know why. Well, actually, I think I do know why I didn't use it before. That was because I didn't know any better when I originally designed this engine. But it produces its peak torque from 1100 RPM. In fact, peak torque is flat from 11 to 1400 RPM. Now, there's not that much torque, given the higher engines will produce 1550, I think, and I think there might even be a 1650 torque version of this engine. So, peak torque is a flat 300 RPM plateau. Wonderful. And then from 1400 RPM, and you know what, it might 1300 now I think about it, you're producing 280 horsepower, of which you're producing all the way up to the 1800 RPM governor. So you have this sort of torque and power curve, flat torque for a few hundred RPM, and then immediately flat power right into the governor. And that effect on the road, it's a surprisingly, for such a low power output engine, it feels okay on the road. As you climb a hill, so if I reach a hill and I'm doing 60, now granted it takes me time to get up to 60, but I do have nearly 41,000 pounds. Is it stones or scrap metal? Scrap metals, okay. So 40,895 pounds of scrap metals behind me. Plus the trailer weighs something like 15,000 pounds. It might even be 16,000 pounds. So it takes me a time to get up to speed. But once I'm up to speed, and I'm doing nearly 1800 revs in top gear, as I start to climb a hill, my power remains constant. And my torque is slowly rising. And so the slower I go climbing the hill, the theoretically more capable this drivetrain package is at climbing that hill. And that, not all engines do that. In fact, a lot of engines, they don't have a power plateau. So as you start to climb a hill, you maybe lose a bit of power. Now, depending on your cruising at engine speed, you might gain a bit. You see, you lose a bit of power, and then as you get slower and lower, your torque will eventually start to go up, just depending on the engine and the generation. But this particular design, it's very pleasant. I don't know how else to describe it. It really is a very pleasant experience to haul with it, given what it is. 1,050 foot-pounds of torque and just 280 horsepower. Yeah, so here we are, we're cruising at 60. Okay, fine. I'm not going to come to a hill, I am going to slow down, but not as much as you might expect. Now yes, there comes a point when I'm going to need to change down. In fact, quite often you will be changing down, you'll be grabbing a gear or two lower. But it does not feel as hopeless as you might expect. Because we're probably grossing round about 79,000 pounds here. I need to kill my speed. Speed. Foolish boy, David. You approached that way too quick. No, I may have overreacted a little bit with my killing speed. So, in some ways, I'm going to say something that if you love Max or love Cummins, or maybe you like them both but they should be separate, may get under your skin. But this M11 has an almost matte-like ability to haul better than you think it should. And for that reason, I'm really enjoying this new way of torque curving the M11. And I'm going to go back and apply the same type of torque curve to the 310, 335 and 370. I think those are the other options that may have the same idea here. And I'm very happy with it. Now, where I want to fine-tune it is efficiency. It's difficult to know what the miles per gallon number should be, because you can ask in forums, you can read in forums, and truckers will tell you what they got. Oh, look at that sunset. Trying to look at the sunset and get the wrong view and all over the road, nearly crashing. But hey, you get what I mean. Let me see. Actually, do this. I think the moment's gone. Oh well. Excuse me. So yeah, you can ask and you can read numbers, and people might say, hey, I might get, I don't know, 6, but my cargo is this and my trailer is this, and it's a 6x4 not a 4x2 tractor engine. So it's a bit touchy-feely. Now, so far, this package feels a little thirstier than it should. Note the word feels, and that's mostly because, well, SCS game engine does not favor engines running at a higher engine speed. There we go. Hard to see if there's anything behind me, but... And so running this engine at 1800 revs at 60 in top gear, it's going to be burning a lot more diesel, simulated diesel, than it would be if we were geared to be maybe doing 1400 or 1300 RPM at the same speed. So I'm manipulating, I love that word, manipulating, the numbers in the engine definition to try and compensate for that, but I don't want it to go too far the other way, where if you use gearing that Cummins didn't recommend, in other words, you go too tall on the gearing, you start getting 14 miles per gallon. So it's a challenge, and I'm not going to get it perfect because there are confines in the game model. I can't program a fuel consumption curve, so not right now. I can't. It would be a nice feature though if I could. The specific burn amounts at pounds per horsepower at various engine speeds, that'd be very interesting to be able to program that in. Good grief, did you see how close that bus was behind me? Anyway. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to get it perfect, but I don't expect it to be. Instead, I want to get a better feeling for how it would be if it were geared appropriately. And of course, I can always drive that little bit slower, and you usually save a ton of fuel, and especially with gearing like this. If I cruise along at 50, I will save a stack. I may, in the real world, will probably upset drivers, plus you'll be upset because you'll feel like you're going nowhere. But it's another possibility, and yeah, good example there. It shifted down to about 1400 revs, but it's doing very well. I'm very happy with how well this has panned out. I've not driven along that road there on the left. Try another drive-by. So yeah, trying to get the right balance on fuel consumption. And there's a couple of metrics, well, there's just several metrics that you can play around with in the engine definition. You can play around with the engine size. Now, engine size determines, well, it's how quickly the engine changes speed. So a bigger engine takes a lot longer to change engine speed. The smaller engine, conversely, is quicker. So this is a 10.8 litre engine, and you tell it its capacity is 10.8, and it behaves how SCS believe a 10.8 engine should behave. You can change that. You can make it bigger or smaller. And that has an impact on, well, it has an impact on fuel consumption. It has an impact on acceleration and deceleration. Also has an impact on your engine brake too, because the engine brake retardation is based on capacity. And another metric that you can input in that says how effective the engine brake is. So if I told it an M11 was really a 9-litre engine, I would save a bit of fuel, but my engine brake would be weaker than I might expect, and the engine might change speed quicker than I might expect. So you've got that thing in the middle. It's like, well, at what point do you kind of draw the line there? So yeah. Another metric you can play around with for fuel consumption is your fuel consumption coefficient, and you can tweak that. So if it's 1, you get 100% of what you expect it to be. If you put it at 0.9, or you get 90%, so you burn less. If you put it at 1.1 or 110, you burn more. So there's that you can tweak, and generally you don't want to tweak that too much, plus or minus maybe 0.9 to 1.1, depending on the circumstances. And the other thing you can tweak is the internal resistance of an engine, and that if you input nothing for that metric, it's essentially that number is 20 times the capacity of your engine in litres. Well, of course, if you make your resistance, internal resistance, higher, the engine changes speed and burns fuel sort of like a larger capacity engine. And you make it smaller and it burns a bit less fuel and revs a little quicker. It's a little bit more subtle than that, and there's a lot of fuzzy logic there because
Get ready to turn left.
the relationship is not linear. So what I found there is I can tweak that quite a bit, and you change the acceleration and the deceleration, and you can have a bit of an effect on the fuel consumption. It's quite easy to
You've arrived at your
kind of mess an engine up.
Your route guidance is now
Let's go
finished.
ahead. I don't know whether yeah, let's go ahead and do that. It'll be fine. I say I don't know whether I really want to do that, but we will. On the coefficient, so the engine friction. Z-Mods and I were playing around with a few things. When I designed the Caterpillar 3406E, or was it the B? I came up, or let's go with the railway line. Yeah, there we go. Came up with a setting that felt like it matched YouTube videos. And Z took this and tweaked it a little more, and tweaked it a little more, and the result is he's very happy with the result. The engine has a similar torque curve to the 3406Bs in my own engine pack, but it behaves a little differently on the road. Now, I'm not a truck driver. I haven't driven either of these engines. I like them both. One sounds a lot better. Z's sounds a lot better than mine, but like I say, I enjoy them both. So it's possible to change how an engine feels quite dramatically through tweaking some of these settings. I'm kind of making a mess of this. It's because I'm not thinking about it, and then I managed to maybe recover it. But that train's not coming this way. I don't see it, so. Curiously enough, if I'm dispensing scrap metal, if I'm dispensing scrap metal, where's it going to go? I'm just going to dump it out here on in the bay. Okay, come on, David, you can do it. It's not that hard. There we go. Okay, that works. Right, let's go ahead and shut down the engine, and we will see how well we did on the trip. Okay, so we did 219 miles. That's fair enough. and we burnt nearly 40 gallons of virtual diesel. So what's that? 40 to 20, it's about 5.5. Feels a little low. I think my miles per gallon number should be a little higher, so I'm going to go back to the engine definition, just tweak that a little bit. But in terms of how well the engine performs, it's great. I mean, yes, I'm at the governor at 60, but that's what Cummins recommend, and why would I not do that? Anyhow, hope that you enjoyed what we did today. Did some discussion of some of the design parameters of engines, and I'm wanting to put together a kind of guide as to how I build an engine. It's not a great mythical secret. It's not a weird science. I would say there's nothing to it, but there is definitely stuff to it. But a lot of it is that you have a process. This is how the torque curves are presented by the manufacturers. And you got to assume that SCS have got a lot of stuff close to right. And going on watching videos of various engines being driven, they seem to be righter than not. And I generally can't make massive improvements to them. Okay, it's got me over there. Very bumpy railway line. Well, without further ado, I hope you got something from this, and if you like this, you can click like. It helps me just understand what people like. If you think it sucks, do the same. But above all, have an amazing day, and perhaps I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Goodbye.